That's local news and reports from CBR, the BBC, and Public Radio. With WKMS, you can discover new music, keep up to date on the local news, and dive into the national headlines from CBR. If you're a fan of WKMS, are you a supporter yet? It's fall fundraising it's the fall fundraising campaign, and your $5 alone can go a lot. Support what you love about WKMS. Right now,
Fall update. This type of bean is doing all right. It is the only type of bean that survived in this front area. Done solar cannon for the season. Lower October's 5th or 6th, I think. Still hasn't started to rain yet. It's October 5th. So I suppose the biggest update is that's how I look now. Turned into a bubble man. No. Biggest change is just let's see. The plan for the house. So this is gonna be the house now. Some hazelnuts and pawpaw. Got some foods, canned beans, and a lot more canned beans. There's a lot of canned beans. This is the general list for the order. Got a pressure canner. Now that the solar canning season's over. Pressure canner. Once it starts raining, I'll fill up my empty jugs, but there's no water to fill them up with. You know, this is pretty much empty. I got 2 that are about that full. That's pretty much it. So I'm down to like maybe 40-50 gallons of water, other than my miscellaneous, you know, like that one, that one. So I guess all told, probably close to maybe like 100 or so gallons. That's not including my emergency water jugs, you know. But it's supposed to start raining maybe tomorrow. Crossing the fingers, it'll rain. I had enough rain, and all of these are empty. Or, you know, they got a couple inches of water in them. You know, I'm calling that empty. You know, if you take out the last bit of water, they can get blown around by the wind and jostled and all that, you know. Nice little passion flower vine. This was down here last year, and I thought I smothered it with my little water jugs, back when this was the little water jugs. But I didn't, so I managed to live. I don't really got a spot for it right now. You know, eventually I'd like to have vines growing all over everything. Useful vines. You know, this makes passion fruit. You know, cool looking flower plus passion fruit. It's kind of like, oh yeah. Passion fruit is like a nice tasting pomegranate. Another passion flower. This one still kind of underperforming fig tree. It's about as big now as that one was last year, you know. This one's kind of like, they started off the same, but this one's now like a year behind, you know. It's kind of a, last year, that one made a handful of figs, but they never really ripened, and that looks like what's going to happen on this tree. You know, a handful of figs, but they don't really ripen. This guy has been producing very nice. This is just the sweetest fig tree ever. It's hard to say if it's the tree or hard to say if it's the tree or the location. Whatever it is, it works out. Very nice. Just over 3-inch diameter now. I started off 2 years ago about like this right here, twig this diameter, 7-8 inches tall. You know, now it's 2 summers later. You know, I planted it last spring, you know, so I had last spring, summer, and this spring, summer to grow, and it went from that little twig to 3-inch diameter base over, you know, 2 springs and summers. Decent amount of, you know, still got a handful of figs left on it. It's hard to say if they're all gonna ripen or not. You know, it's been so dry. It's kind of a, you know, I'm not gonna waste water on it, you know. It's a good stress test, you know. If it does start to die, I can, these are some big leaves. I can water it, you know, but the figs do fine in the drier weather. And like having this dryness gets them to put the roots down to where there actually is water, you know. And if they don't make it, I can always give them water. You know, so it's like a nice stress test to get them to put down some deeper roots. But basically, you know, I'm not going to be here for the next few years to water these things in the summer. So if they, you know, if they can't make it, they're just not going to make it. You know, kind of a weed out the ones that need care and maintenance. You know, and the ones that are fine on their own, they can thrive. This grape is probably dead. You know, that grape, questionable. It's lost its leaves, but it's that time of year where the grapes are losing their leaves, you know. Like, this grape has lost its leaves. You know, it's still alive, but, you know, it just doesn't look it. Hoping the fig's still alive, you know, just lost its leaves. A lot of leaf losing going on because of this dry weather. So it started off wettest spring, whatever, you know, flooding everywhere, and now it's like the driest spring, you know, or driest fall, driest year. You know, it's been real dry the last 2 months. 2 rain showers. Goji berries and the figs don't mind the dryness at all. Goji's slowed down. It's, you know, still putting out, making new fruit, you know, still putting out blossoms, you know, even though here it is October 5th, and it's early to start fruiting and it's late to stop fruiting. You know, it'll be snowing on the ground and there'll still be some berries I can pick off this thing. So gojis and figs are definitely ones that I'll be growing a lot of, because they're productive, you know, and they can withstand my neglect. Raspberries done for the season. Raspberry seems to be doing all right though. You know, the pawpaw is a little too dry up on this hilltop to grow pawpaws. So probably and too sunny probably. You know, I may try growing pawpaws, putting more pawpaws in a wetter part of the property. You know, down in that valley or on the far end of the property. You know. Wherever there's a moist spot, but you know, this top of the hill is probably going to be too dry for the pawpaw to do well. You know, it's grown bigger this year, you know, but it's pretty slow grower. Strawberries, so flowers had grown over, you know, like this was all covered with the black-eyed Susans and the evening primroses. So I was capturing the strawberries in these containers, but they got grown over by the other flowers. So they started to land in this dirt over here, you know. It looks like most of them may have died that were out here, you know. They managed to survive in the one thing though. So the strawberries are holding on. Those are all-star strawberries. These guys are doing good. These are another one that I'll probably grow a lot of. These are asparagus. These ones are Mary Washingtons. This is a big one right here and a big one right here. And then this is maybe a purple passion. And back there was some Jersey Giant. That one died, you know. But the asparagus seem to be doing all right, you know, considering it's bone dry, you know. Well, not bone dry, but it's dry, you know. Watering the rhubarbs, you know, and the asparagus, you know, by themselves. With these little tubs of water, my miscellaneous tubs. You know, it's got some dead bugs and things and leaves and things in there, but basically that's kind of like a compost tea. So it's, you know, I don't want to use it for construction and bathing and all that, but the plants love it, you know. The deers ate the leaves off of this guy. This is the red mulberry. And then we grew all these leaves back. That's why these leaves are so nice and fresh looking. Red mulberry is doing fine. You know, it doesn't like the winters freezing back, but you know, it brings back good afterwards. The deers ate the thornless blackberry down, but it's sprawled back. This is one of those mulberries. Deer, you know, this is the baby deer, you know. And it's kind of cool having him around, but he does munch on things, but it's kind of it seems bad, but it gets the plant to put out new leaves, you know, so it may be a diseased leaf, you know, and the deer's eating it, and now it's got a fresh, healthy leaf, you know. I didn't have any diseases, you know, it's kind of just the tree wasting a little bit of energy on it, but, you know, it's kind of a trade-off, give and take. My cuttings, though, mulberry cuttings, did rather well, you know. I'll water these things, you know, my cuttings, and those things. 2 citruses, and the sassafras. I'll water them just so they don't die, you know, because being a cutting, you know, this is their first summer, you know, and it's getting hit by a drought, you know, like some parts of Kentucky have the worst drought, you know, and since they've started recording it, you know, and like eastern Kentucky, you know, still pretty dry though. Yeah, doing a bean crop in the fall, you have 90 days of good weather. Granted, this year it was a scratching his patootie. This year it was a drought, but you have 90 days of decent temperature. So in theory, you can plant the beans, but there's too many grasshoppers, you know. It's like, I'm not eating anything. Oh, you're eating something, pal. Yeah, I blame it on the deer, but it could very well be the grasshoppers eating the leaves. But yeah, figs and mulberries did fine. The passion flowers over here did fine. I had a swarm of beetles start to eat them, you know, so I did spray it, you know, because a swarm of beetles can eat down a thing just as much as a deer can. Sassafras, that's what this is, root beer flavored. They grow through roots. The roots underground do a new sprout, you know. They do make berries, but the berries don't really produce new trees. This one's done 2 little root sprouts, though. Like it's wanting to start a new spread out, you know. This one's got a. So this was a pear tree. I think it's died. You know, it's gotten its leaves eaten off, and hasn't come back. You know. And here's some gojis. They've seen better days. These goji cuttings, though, you know, managed to put out little berries. You know, here's a little goji berry on this tiny little cutting. You know, they managed to flower and create some berries. This one, lime quat, made those little things. They're not getting any bigger though. You know, those are little fruits, but they're just staying that size. Not sure what to make of it. I'm gonna bring those to Nashville with me. You know, keep them as indoor plants. Putting the potato pea piles. I opened up this one. So, bad thing about pine needles, there's rooms for the millipedes and grubs and little bugs. You know, they crawl through these pine needles looking for food, and then they find your potatoes, and they eat out your potatoes on you. So, these potato plants died before they really fully matured. You know, they're slow to start because of the chemicals on them. And then the bugs ate them out, so they died right away, you know. But they did produce a little bit. And then it's kind of, since the pine needles, there's, you know, little to no nitrogen. You know, I peed on it a little, but there's still not much nitrogen. These are the potatoes I got. And I ate one of them. It was about this size, you know, so a full-size potato turned into 3 little tiny little potato things, you know. It's hard to say what those are. That was the potato harvest off of one of them. So definitely don't want to grow potatoes that way, you know. And I started off with, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 large potatoes planted in there, and I end up with, you know, probably about 6 little, you know, stubby little things for the harvest. Yeah, going forward, pine needles is a nice material. Then mixing it with some peat moss and some compost and some manure, and some sand, you know, doing up a actual bedding mix, you know, not just pine needles. And hopefully that'll be a dense enough mix to keep the bugs out. And I might go, so other than you can plant potato shallow and then mound up potato as it grows, you know, creates roots off of its stem as you're mounding up the stem. Benefit of that is it's not deep, so it's easy to harvest. But then you also, the negative part of that is it's not deep, so it's easy for the bugs to work their way in there. The other option is to plant them deep, and the potato has enough stored up energy that it could put out really long sprout to get to the surface. Then all along that really long sprout, it creates roots and grows potatoes. So I might do it that way. plant them deeper, real deep, instead of mounding, just planting deep to keep them out of the way of the bugs, and then giving it more nitrogen, kind of like a soil mix, some peat moss, compost manure, mixed in with pine needles to plant the potatoes in, give them some more nitrogens. Still got that much gravel, a couple yards, about 1 yard of sand, 16 footers, 2x12s, so to be kind of doing my marks and cutting these. They were short, 4 or 5. They're short 4 or 5 2x12 by 16s. Oh, 2x12 by 16s. Or 50. So there's 32, and then there's another handful over here. So these 2x12 by 16s are the rafters, but being like a green roof, it's basically a floor, regular rafters 2x4, but I don't want sags, green roof, when it sags, it holds water, and then that water makes it sag even more, and the problem worsens, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So going excessively strong, 2x12s are a nice floor, so throw that. Some 1x4 pressure treated stickers. So it's kind of, there's the metal. Condensation will form on the underside of the metal. So, here's the roof. The roof being basically a floor. This is 3/4 tongue and groove. Flooring, but since it's a what do you call that? Green roof, it's kind of, the floor is a roof, the roof is a floor. So on top of this, you got tar paper and metal, and that metal will create condensation droplets, just the 50% humidity, and once the temperature's right, that becomes, the metal becomes a surface. So you have tar paper over this, so any condensation that does drip off of the roof lands on the tar paper and then runs off the roof before it hits anything. The tar paper is water resistant, but it would stay moist in there because there's all these little tight little bumps in that, and it wouldn't really get enough circulation to dry out those water condensation droplets. So it'd be kind of like a rainforest effect, it'd be dripping and just staying wet, so it'd rot out this. But that's why you give it some of this stuff. It's just some pressure treated. Don't really need 1x4, could rip it into 1x2 and it's fine. And I may end up doing that, not now, but in the future. But I like having this on hand. So I'm going to be putting it in full like this. And then this creates an air gap, kind of a in between. So it's kind of like that metal is floating off of its decking, Gives it this extra 3/4 air gap, so it has better airflow in there and can dry out and won't become a moisture issue. These are the mud cell, treated 2x8s, 8-foot 2x8s, some 4x4 by 10s. That's my posts, 4 posts. That's right here, 12-foot 2x12s. So these ones are 16-foot. if I were to do 12 foot for the rafters, it would end right at the edge of the cinder block, so there would be no overhang. And it just looks so awkward that way, you know, and it doesn't protect the walls, you know, from drips. You know, I like having an overhang. It just seems so natural for there to be like a 16-inch overhang. It just looks funny to me having, you know, the roof end right at the wall line. I just don't like that look. It just looks wrong to me. So I had to do 16 foot for the roof, and there's really no loss because I get my 2 blocks out of this. You know, I'm really only wasting about 2 inches of, you know, these 16 footers. You know, it goes block, and then like a 2-inch waste, you know, and then the rafter. But these 12 footers are the beam. It's going to be a double beam. Oh, the beam and the ridge board. 3 of them for the ridge board, and then the other 6 are, you know, the double beam. It'd be kind of like half, you know, kind of alternating this double. And then when I do, if society holds out long enough, I put the main floor in there, you know, lift this off, dismantle this roof, put the main floor in, and then the walls, main level walls, and then re-put this roof back on top. It'll still be that double beam for the roof, but this basement beam will be a triple beam, you know, kind of. This triple beam will be holding up, you know, the roof and the thing, you know. But right now, it's going to be a double beam. Got a double beam. What did I get these for? Oh, these are 12-foot 2x4s. So, you know, the last rafter sits flush with the outside of the wall, you know, on either side. But I want 16 inches overhang in the front and the back. So that's what these are. And what I like to do it is to tie it back, you know, cutting through the last one, matching through the last rafter, and then having like the overhang block run through and butt into the second to last rafter, you know. So that's what these are for. These end up being, these are 12 footers, and they end up getting cut down, I think, into like 3.5 foot pieces. So it's like 3 pieces out of 3 of those out of each one of these. And I want to say I got these every 16 inches or so. So that's what these are. That's pretty much it. I went with a light roofing felt. I should only need 1 roll to do this. But it just seems odd. Just 1 roll. It doesn't seem right, you know. The number on the, you know, the length of it, footage of it, it says it's enough, you know, for in just 1 roll. But I think maybe I did my math wrong, because 1 roll doesn't seem like it should be enough. So I got 2, you know, it can't hurt having the extra one sitting around. Oh, and then 4 ridge cap for where they meet up in the center. So there's some foam inserts that you use. You put it on your roof and then you put the ridge on. I need to pick up those foam inserts. There's some, you know, for metal roofing, you know, like gasket hex head metal screws. Self-tapping maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna pre-drill though. Once I got my deck on, I'm gonna hit it with the tar paper, and basically holding that tar paper down. I don't want to use a lot of staples. This is basically going to be, normally you would staple this on, you know, nice and securely, you know, and then start with your strapping, you know, once that's secured. But this is kind of like long-term temporary. So this basically is going to be floating, and I'm going to hold it down with the strapping screwed on. No nails in this, all screws, you know. So once I got my strapping down, you know, I'll know, okay, this is gonna be a, you know, strapping right here, strapping right there, strapping right there, strapping right there, you know. Once I got that kind of layout, I'll pre-drill these. So I need to pick up the screws, the foam inserts. I'm also going to pick up some strapping. So these, let's say this is the ridge end. This ridge end is going to butt into a ridge board. You know, this would be like a 10-degree angle. Pretty much like that. And then here will be the 2x12 ridge board. And it's going to butt into it. Now from the back side of that ridge board, normally you would nail it, but I'm going to screw it, give it a couple toe screws. And normally it would be sitting probably in like a, you know, a metal, you know, like a bracket that you nail onto the ridge board. And then set the beam on that, set the rafter on that. But that's just, there's 50 of these. That would mean 50 brackets, you know, it would be a hassle, you know. Well, maybe I will. Because otherwise it's going to be some 3-inch screws to toe screw these. So, you know, just putting in a 3-inch screw is a hassle, even with an impact driver. I'm going to think about that. But I mean, it's probably like $3 or $4 per bracket, you know, and it's 50 of these brackets. You know, it's kind of a, you know, it's a little bit of an investment, you know, in brackets. Oh, but I do want to get straps. So it's kind of you know, the bracket kind of keeps it from pulling out, you know, but I want to put a couple metal straps on the top. Just so it can't pull apart, you know. Not that there's any real force that would pull it apart, you know. It's no real chance of that happening, but I would just feel better with it, you know. Yeah, so kind of basically it's kind of cooling down starting yesterday. It was 95, and then yesterday it was like 80, you know, just, and it's like, it was upper 60s at night, you know, and then yesterday I think it was like 50 or something at night. So it's definitely fall weather now, and then it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so it looks like fall's here. I never know. But I'm short, you know, they didn't have enough of the 2x12s, and they didn't have enough 2x12x16s, and they didn't have enough 2x8x8s pressure treated. So I need to get like, you know, I still need like 4 or 5 of those and 4 or 5 of those. So I'm going to kind of use up what I got, you know, get as far as I can get, you know, enclosing the better portion of it, and then doing an order for some insulation, the doors and the window, and then I can put all that insulation. I don't want to get the insulation wet, so I'll be able to put the insulation under the covered area, you know, the area that I finished, you know. So basically it'll be go around and use as much of the mud sill pressure treated 2x8x8s as I got, and then start cutting my rafters. Pre-cutting, you know, these 40 somethings of them. Setting up my beam, pre-assembling it on the ground inside those brackets that I put in. That's one of the brackets right there, you know. Inside those brackets, pre-assembling it, leveling it, doing my measurements for level at those 4 points, you know, and then adjusting that 8'6" and I think it was 3/4 or something. Adjusting that, cutting down the posts to those adjusted heights. Reassembling the beam on top of it. Setting a couple of these onto that beam and then putting in my ridge board. And then putting in the rest of them, that I got. I'm going to be short about 4 foot. I won't be able to do like maybe the last 4 foot of this place. I'll need those before I can enclose the last 4 foot of them. I'll need the last of those. Well, and maybe the last 8 foot of it, because I won't have enough mud sill to even get 8 foot towards the back. But I'll do the front part. So maybe that back 8 foot will be left open when I put in my order for the rest of the materials. And then the insulation, doors, windows. Cut up this and I put the door in. Basically I want to do cinder blocks along the thing. About 24 foot out is as far as the outdoor kitchen will go. Outdoor kitchen will be angled like this. Instead of going at a 90 off of this, it's going to be angled. Maybe like a 10-degree angle, angling that way. And then 24 foot over. That'll give room for the landing and room for final height. So this landing will be maybe 2 foot below grade. And then final will be maybe 1 foot below grade, And then there'll be a retaining wall kind of along the sides. Cinder block retaining wall along the sides. So that's kind of what I'm saving the gravel and the sand for, is that last bit of retaining wall and things. I might order concrete. If I have enough. Concrete truck holds 10 yards. If I got maybe like 8 yards of concrete that I need, once I get to that point, kind of figure out, all right, this is how much concrete I'm going to need to do it. If it's like 8 yards, I'll just order it. But if it's like 2 yards of concrete, it's not worth bringing the concrete truck out for 2 yards. But anyways, so for right now, saving that for the beginnings of the outdoor kitchen. Kind of the perimeter wall of the outdoor kitchen, I guess. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll reuse these forms. My header forms, the big ones for the door and the other ones for the window size. I just use them both for windows, But that's why the one's longer, because this door opening is bigger. Reuse those forms for, doing my little footings and things out there. And, reuse these scaffolds. So this is going to be like kind of a sawhorse table right here. Put my chop saw on it, and then I can butt my lumber, into this as a stop. I'm going to have my saw set up here, set up wherever, for doing various cuts. It's just be kind of like a workbench, tools and things in there. It'd be nice one to have this thing covered. I do want to get a pressure washer and wash this and throw down some mortar, kind of level it out better, get rid of some of these grooves and then tile it, but I need water to do that. I don't got enough water to pressure wash this thing. Once it starts, there's something going on over here. I'm not sure if it's a frog or not. Something's been kind of chirping. Yeah, but it's looking pretty cool. It's definitely nice having a bunker. Come in handy. So what do you call it? Purpose behind change of the plans is, cost of, I barely have enough to do a proper house. So basically, I wouldn't have enough because there's always hidden costs. I just do broad strokes with my costs, and if it's close, it's not doable. That's how I count it. And it would be close, so it's probably not doable. If it were doable, I'd just be stressed out. And then it's coming up on winter time, and winter time is not a good time to be out here. It's not a productive time either. It's like a Seattle winter. Last winter it was a Seattle winter, just overcast, cloudy, constantly. Solar panels didn't do anything. I could use the lights, in the shack, and charge my phone, charge my flashlight, and that was pretty much it. I could maybe get an hour of computer time, because it's just so overcast. Overcast, drizzly, cold. Not a good time to be out here, So basically, I would just be out here not doing much at all winter. So I might as well just go to, get a job and make more money and all that, because I want to clear the trees over there on the top of the hill. So do that for a few years, save up a good chunk of change, because it's expensive clearing land, But with this roof on, it'll be an actual livable structure, So if poop hits the fan while I'm in town, I can always just come out here. And I got, it's gonna be a dark, dank house, but still, it'll be insulated and dry, and protect me from forest fires. This little structure is very fire resistant, tornado resistant, earthquake resistant, so it's pretty much like a safe bunker, and I could stock it with food. So I'm in Nashville, I'll be, loading up on, be dry canning some rice and some beans and some flour and some sugar and salt, like kind of the staples, dry can of those, I have a lot of shelves out here. Get more shelving. I'm just fill up my shelvings with staple foods. Not looking good. And before I go ahead and finish doing the house, I'm gonna clear more land and build the barn and other things that are more needed than a nice airy windowy kind of place, And once I got those essentials down, I'll go ahead and finish making this into a house. So that's why it's long term, It's probably about my second or third trip back here. I'll be doing that, if society lasts that long, which I don't think it's going to. It doesn't look like it's going to last that long. It looks like I'll probably be coming out here before I would normally. It's kind of, I think societal collapse will be dictating when I come out here for my next one. Maybe a year or two. Yeah. So that's it for fall update. Put the roof on. Do the, so this would be kind of the outdoor kitchen, going at an angle like this. Do up the wall for that.
Complaints can only be sent to Congress if the person on whom